Hello and welcome to the Virtual Manc YouTube channel. On this channel you can view the latest news about Azure Virtual Desktop, Windows 365, Intune and much more. Alright, so this week I've got something a bit different. I've been down with man flu for the past week. Today I'm going to give you my top 3 new features of the new Nerdio Manager 7.0 release. So we've got some product demos for you and I'll talk a bit more about the products. A nice easy video, but I'm hoping it'll show you the real value that we released into the products. I'm interested to hear your feedback. Let's get into the video. We're going to cover 3 subjects. We're going to cover the new Intune functionality, the new Remote Connect feature, which is a support tool, and the new Windows 365 functionality that we released as part of our 7.0 release. Let's get into it and see what these new features look like. The first feature we're going to go through is something called Console Connect. So Console Connect is a remote management support tool which you can now use as part of Nerdio, which basically enables you to remote control and support remote management tasks as well. So it can do like kill remote services, run PowerShell scripts and look at log files. Very cool feature, getting a lot of good feedback from it. I think primarily because when people move from SCCM to Intune, they lose a remote control feature. You can get remote control as part of Intune, but it's an added paid on extra. So if you are a Nerdio customer, you get this included. So it's no brainer. We can also support physical devices as well. So this is not just for Azure Virtual Desktop or Windows 365. This is any device which is basically registered against Intune. Okay, very cool. So yeah, so we're going to go deploy it, we're going to test it, and then yeah, interested to hear feedback about this one. Alright, let's get to it. The first thing we're going to do is enable Console Connect from within the console. Let's go and see how we do that. I'm just going to flick over to my desktop. I'm already here within the settings menu, in settings integration, and then we can see Console Connect is currently disabled. So what we're going to do here is click that to enable. Now what I can do is select which host pools I want to enable this for, but also for Windows 365, because we can also connect to Windows 365 devices use Console Connect, and the same for physical devices as well. If I want to connect to a physical device, I just put the devices in the Intune group within here. That'll then allow me to connect to that device. So I'm just going to select the host pool, so I'm going to call it Defender Test, and then we're just going to see which provision. I think it's the let me just go in and double check that actually which Windows 365 provisioning policy I'm actually using. Okay, so to check that, we go to Endpoints, Windows 365, and then from there I can see which policies I'm using. So I can see here I've got this test W365, and I've also got a frontline one. So this one I can see has got Cloud PC. So that's one that we're going to use, right? So I'm just going to go back to integrations, Console Connect, on. Going to select my host pool, and then I'm going to select my test Windows 365 provisioning policy. I'm not going to use the Intune groups for now. We'll just do AVD in Windows 365, but if you wanted to do physical devices, this is where you would select it. And then I'm going to configure a message. Yeah, connecting to desktop. If there is a problem, please ring the help desk. Okay, so I'll click OK. Cool. And what that basically going to do, that's going to set off a number of actions. You can see here, update Console Connect settings. So we'll give that a minute. Okay, so that's now complete. Let's have a quick look and see what that's actually done. It's created a Console Connect account. It's created a secret for the storage, and we've also updated some settings in the configuration. So now we need to go to the host pool, right? So we're going to test this. I'm going to go to my host pool. We're going to do Defender Test. Then I'm going to go to Properties, and now we can see this Console Connect button here. Okay, so that's set to on already, but if we go to another host pool, we should see that turned off because we explicitly said that to turn on. Okay, so yeah, you can see that sets it off. Alright, we're going to power on that session host and see what happens. So you can see here we've got a connect button. That connect button is what we use to connect to the VM, and you can see here install client console agent. So that's the automatic task, and what actually is going to happen now is Nerdio is going to power on the host for you, and then it will install the agent because that's what it uses for the Console Connect. After it's done that, we should be able to connect to the VM. We'll let that continue, and then we'll come back shortly and hopefully be able to test the Console Connect. Alright, so now that we've got Console Connect deployed, let's see what we can do with it. Right, so what I've done here, I've logged onto a session host, so let me just share my screen. So you can see here, I've got my session here on NerdioCon 2025. We are going to go to the connect button. This is how we manage the console connect button within Nerdio. So click OK, and he's going to give me an option as to which sessions that I want to jump onto. I'm just going to select my session, click OK, and that's going to connect me to that session. So if we pop back up to the VM, we'll see there, yep, so that's just my acceptance to make sure the user's happy. And there you go. So we now are in a full remote session. So me as the user, if I just go and click on here, you'll see stuff. The two sessions are sort of being replicated. That's really cool. And then as the admin, as the person who do the support tools, they can also do that as well. So that's the basic functionality that you get with it. But Console Connect can do way more, and that's what we'll go through and show you now. Console Connect is a full remote support tool. Not only can we just do the session viewings that we just done, we can also do stuff on the actual host itself. I can send screenshots, for example. I'm going to do a screenshot of that, so we can send that. Let me just select that. So yeah, close that. We can do screenshots, and we can do network stats. We can do remote audio. We can do clipboard sync. But we can also execute scripts. If there's an issue on the session host that you knew could be fixed by script, you could execute that remotely. We can restart the host. We can launch Device Manager, do admin tasks, for example. So we can do clean up disk, task ledger, update group policy, that type of stuff. We can receive files, which I'll show you in a second, and we can interact with the user as well. We can say, hey, can you try this, for example. From the user perspective, they'll get a message from me, the support person. But for me, the absolute coolest feature and what you can do with this is, so let me just go back to here. What we can do is we can go onto the diagnostics tool and interact with the session host itself, right? This is me in a remote command session. I can see the host name, for example. I can do stuff. So if I wanted to, I don't know, browse a directory, what's it easy? Files. I can go stuff in here and do stuff. So I can create directories, I can delete files, kill processes, whatever you want. So this is very cool. And we can also run that as the user as well, right? So if you're troubleshooting a permissions issue or something, we can do that as well. We can also do PowerShell. I can execute PowerShell commands on the session host as well. Very cool. We can also do stuff like look at Device Manager. We can do registry edit. So if I wanted to, I can go into here and I can go to registry, go to software. Let me just pick an example one, Adobe, for example, Adobe Acrobat. And we can just change settings. I can change settings on the fly if I wanted to. If you're troubleshooting an issue, if something's not right, I can just go in here and change that. You can also interact with the services. You can go stop and start those services or configure the start time within the session host. So it's meant as a full troubleshooting remote management tool. There's so much that we can do. Let's pick another example where the user has a session hanging. Maybe it's Edge, which is basically locking the session. You can see here we've got our NerdioCon. So I can go into here and then find the sessions. And these are all the different users. I'm going to show the admin, which is me. And we're going to find the session which will be the one with the CPU usage the highest, which is going to be this one. And then I'm just going to close it, right? So you ready? So that one's running. Close it. Do you want to terminate it? Yes, please. There you go. So cool, right? Imagine the way you were doing that previously. It would be a nightmare to do that. So now it just makes support so much easier. And let's take another example where maybe we want to grab the user saying the FH Logic profile is slow, or the user can't log on because of the FH Logic problems. How can we troubleshoot that? All we need to do is go to Tools, Files, and then grab files from the host. So I want to receive files. I'm going to go to C, Program Data, FH Logics, Logs, and then find the profile, network, ODFC profile, and receive the latest version. There you go. I've now got the latest version of the FH Logic profile. So that's pretty much it. What can I say? You've seen it. It looks so cool. That's now included with all Nerdio licenses, Nerdio Manager Enterprise. So if you are a Nerdio customer, definitely have a play about with this. Because it's, for a support perspective, it's a game changer. Alright, so now let's move on to the next feature. The next feature which we're going to talk about is the new Intune Reporting Insights that were released as part of Nerdio Manager 7.0. So this is a advanced reporting functionality using the existing Intune Graph API. We've pulled the data out of Intune and made it a much more readable format, but much more searchable and much more reportable as well, because we can also export all the stuff. So let's head over to the console and have a quick look at what this looks like. You can see here we've got everything within one nice web console, so I can look at my device types, so I can see my patch status and my warranty coverage. The cool thing is we've got all these new dashboards. I can go in and from a high level overview I can have a look at the status for my devices, as you can see which ones are in compliance, which ones have got issues with configuration, which ones are managed apps, so the application is deployed successfully or not, and also the patch status. I can see which ones are not being patched, and you can see here I've got my device which was last seen 8 months ago. That's probably why it's set to high. He's missing the patches, so for example I click on that and it'll tell me the patch status, like which ones are missing. If I go back to patch status, we can see all the different OS types. We can also look at our applications. We can see how many installs we've done for the applications and how many different versions we've got as well. So it just gives you a ton of information around all your applications in your estate. You can look at the OS health, so we can see which versions are there. This is all good. And then we can look at trends, right? So we can see which ones are compliant. Are we improving? Are we getting worse? So I can go back 90 days and see what I'm like. So I'm bad. Yeah, this is my dev environment, so I don't really not too bothered about keeping it up to date as much as I should, but it's just a good easy way of identifying which ones are issues, good or bad. And then we can look at issues, so it's going to give me like my top issues, right? I can use that to figure stuff out in the environment. We've got one here, issues with this compliance policy. It's basically telling me I've got a device which is not compliant and the OS is not supported and the warranty is expired. I can go in there and click on all the details. This is an old device I had on my network, but it's basically showed me this device was last seen like 8 months ago. That's quite cool. And then let's have a look at another one. So this is one of my Windows 365 devices. It's basically telling me that I've got an issue with my security baseline. This is not configured properly, all these in errors. Yeah, just a nice easy way of going in to look at all issues, stuff like that as well. And we've got custom reports that we configure within there as well. The most useful thing we can see here is I can actually export it all as well, right? So I can go here. If I want a report of all my devices which are not healthy, I can just go to here, I get the most important ones and do an export, and then we can use that as a basis for tracking those issues maybe. So as you probably agree, much easier way of doing all this information and than you would do within the sort of native Intune console. And the good thing is we can also filter down and filter on my different device models. If I just wanted to look at all my cloud PCs, I could do that. But if I just wanted to look at, say, virtual machines, or if you had all the cities configured within your environment or countries, you could look at that. You can also look at your different OS versions. So if I just wanted to filter, for example, by my, let me just do, so that's 21H2 for example, I can just go into here, have a look and see which ones are that, and then use that as a report to determine which ones I want to upgrade. Yeah, absolute game changer. I keep on using this phrase for this 7.0 release, but there's so much stuff in here. I can look at these to report, for example. I can look at my inventory. I can just go into here and list out all my devices, see which ones are encrypted, see which ones are not encrypted. Yeah, so much stuff that you can do. You can also build up your own reports if you wanted to. Alright, that's it for the Intune stuff. Now we'll move on to the Windows 365 stuff. The final new feature, which I'm really excited about as well, is the Windows 365 integration that we've launched. This is basically, again, more deeper insights into Windows 365, but we've also got some cost saving stuff in there. Let me just show you on the screen. This is the new Windows 365 dashboard. We can see the total user count of users in an environment. We can see the maximum current usage, which is definitely a nice view to have if you're looking at your actual license utilization. We can look at the licenses used. As you can see here, I've just got an enterprise one that I've been using, but it show you the licenses, and we can also export that as well. You can also expand that into a different view if you wanted to. We can look at our device health to make sure everything's happy. Most importantly, our utilization. Windows 365 is a service you pay for on a subscription basis, so you want to make sure you're utilizing those licenses that you're paying for. So this will give you a good indication of how many licenses you're actually using. And then the recommendations engine, which I'm going to go into shortly, but this is very cool. So again, I can also export all that information, but the recommendations engine is basically going to tell you what we recommend the license utilization is, and then in the future we have the ability to move through different SKUs as well. And then we can look at the device types, the type of license they're using, and we can see the amount of licenses without login. Again, really useful feature because we're paying for that, right? So we want to make sure that we're leveraging the stuff that we've paid for. And then you can look at the login duration as well, and also the session durations. So that's part one. Part two is probably the most useful, where we go to our recommendations engine. If no one's ever seen this before, this is basically Nerdio Advisor, and it tells you the best SKU to go on it. What I can now do is right sizing for Cloud PC. Okay, and you can see here what this is actually saying is actually basically looking at my usage of my desktop. This is my personal Cloud PC, and it's basically telling me I've used that for 0.3 hours over the past month, which is pretty correct, and I've been using 97% of the CPU and 50% of the memory, and it's recommending me to do a license reclaim, because I'm only using it for 0.3 hours a month. That's very cool, right? It's telling me how much money that I'm going to save. And again, we're going to expand on this in the future around the ability to automatically do stuff. So not only is it giving you more visibility, but this is actually a real cost-saving feature as well, because you don't want users to be able to obviously you sign a load of licenses and they don't use them, so you essentially pay for nothing. This is a nice feature and to save some money. That's pretty much it for all these features. For me, this takes Nerdio to a whole new level. The fact that we've now got the stuff around the Intune reporting, the Windows 365 reporting. We released 36 features, and these are just my top three. The console connect, it's just so many useful features, which I always say is a game changer. Most of this is available for existing customers. So, especially if you're an AVD customer, we've released a new Windows 365 licensing SKU as well. And so you get access to these features if you're a Windows 365 user, and also physical, right? So if you want these features for your physical devices, it's $1 per user, which is nothing. So yeah, really excited to hear customer feedback from this. For me, these features take it to another level. So yeah, if you want to know more about the features, please just get in touch with me and I'll be happy to have a chat. All right, that's it for this week. Thank you for sticking with me. As you probably noticed, I'm feeling a bit groggy. I've had a man flu all week, so it's been a bit difficult to record this video. I just wanted to make sure I got something out there for you guys this week. So hopefully I'll see you next week with something a bit more in depth. I chose this subject because it's a nice and easy one while I'm not feeling too good. Hopefully next week we'll have something more interesting. All right, thanks. See you next week. Bye-bye.